this video is going to be a reading vlog. I'm going to be reading Yellowface by Rebecca.F.Kunag or r.f.kunag. I have heard so much about this book, as I'm probably sure most people have. I'm just really behind in actually reading it. I really have to read it now though, because I have an event coming up. It's going to be an author talk with r.f.kunag herself, and it's going to be specifically talking about this book, so kind of got to get on it. The blurb reads, Athena Liu is a literary darling. June Hayward is literally nobody. When Athena dies in a freak accident, June steals her unpublished manuscript and publishes it as her own under the ambiguous name Juniper Song. But as evidence threatens June's stolen success, she discovers exactly how far she will go to keep what she thinks she deserves. Yellowface grapples with the questions of diversity, racism, and cultural appropriation, as well as the terrifying alienation of social media. r.f.kunag's novel is timely, razor-sharp, and eminently readable. I've heard a lot about this book in that I think most people didn't enjoy reading it, but that was the way it's supposed to be. From what I understand, it's got quite an unlikable main character, but they're meant to be that way. The whole theme of the book is mainly how it's kind of spotlighting the racism of the publishing industry and kind of how ironic it is that this book is so popular. It's not even like a book that's kind of gone under the radar, and I don't know if it's because of the book content itself or the author is well known, but it's kind of turned into just extremely ironic book in the sense that it's like a very popular book. It's very mainstream. Like most people who read all the latest books have read this book, which are usually all books written by white people. I'm not articulating this very well. I've just worked a whole day at work and my brain's not really working right now. I'll probably have more to say once I actually start reading it, but anyway, I wanted to document the experience reading this book and then also take you along with me going to the book event and then talk about what r.f.kunag spoke about in her author talk in regards to this book, which I think will show a lot of great insight. This event is being held by a group in Melbourne that is very writer, author, editor centric, and they love having these discussions about the publishing industry and what we can do to change it. So I think that r.f.kunag will be asked some really important questions, and I think she'll do a really great job of answering them. So I'm really looking forward to her insight. This was published towards the end of last year. It's still everywhere. I'm still seeing it everywhere. I'm really late to the party in reading this one, but of course I am. I take forever to read books. Another reason why I wanted to vlog this was also because I want to get it read as soon as possible. The event that I'm attending is next week, so I have a week to read this, and usually it takes me months and months to read books, so we'll see. I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. So I'm going to wash my work germs off and I'm going to get comfy and I'm going to start this book tonight. Just an update on reading Yellowface. I have gotten up to page 94. I've been reading this for a bit under a week now. Not gotten very far, but from what I have read, holy fuck. When I first started this, because as I said, I knew that the main character wasn't very likable. I knew that she does horrible things like that. But as I was reading, the first chapter, I was thinking to myself, it's not actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, I mean, she's not a nice person, but there's nothing like extra that's like not nice about her. But then get to chapter 2 and she's fucking horrible. It's just really interesting, I guess, to read a character like this from someone who is a person of color, knowing that she wrote this character and how like racist she is, and then the character's always trying to justify her racism, and it's like in the smallest ways too, that I think like obviously people don't realize they're doing it and no one holds them accountable, I guess, because they don't want to upset them. It's also about like the main character's thoughts. Like no one knows your thoughts, so obviously no one can correct them, but that thought process I feel like is something that you see a lot, and not just like towards race, to other things too. It's very interesting seeing that perspective and knowing that like it's purposefully that way. It's not just like accidentally racist. Like she's purposefully thinking this way to be racist because that's what the author intended. I think it's interesting reading from the perspective of a character who is justifying all of their actions. Like she objectively knows not all the things, but some of the things she's doing wrong she objectively knows, but just her trying to justify it in her head is interesting. I'm interested to see where this will go, because at the moment it's kind of, in terms of the plot itself, I feel like the driving factor at the moment is the unlikability of the main character, and for me it kind of has that vibe of like, oh, what is she gonna say next? What is she gonna get away with next? Or what is this? When I guess, I mean, people hate read for sure, but, and like hate watch and things like that, but I am just, I guess, like I've reached a point in the book where the plot is quite like uncertain from here on out. I've been annotating the book, mainly just talking about how shit the main character is, and then also the people in her life that just don't call her out on her shit and kind of enable it as well, especially from her publishers. Like there's this thing that happened with the publishers in regards to getting a sensitivity reader, and it was just so wrong the way that it was handled by the publishing company and also by the author himself. Not the author of this book, the author of the book inside the book. I've also been coming across some things here. I've been underlining words that I don't know the meaning of, which happens often actually, that I come across words that I don't know the meaning of. I think I talked about this in the Emily Wilde's vlog that I have on here if you want to check out. So I'm trying to expand my vocabulary, and so anytime I come across a word that I don't know the meaning of, I look it up and write it in the book. So then I have the definition and then also have the word used in context within the book, and like hopefully it helps with retention of these words, and I think it is working because I've been doing it for a little while now. The thing about this book, even though I feel like the plot is a little bit like nothing too crazy, it's more about the character themselves and do they get away with what they're doing, and like how they're treating people, how they're treating the topic, and all that kind of stuff. I am going to the event with r.f.kunag tomorrow, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, how I think it's like a live streamed version, but it's not, it's actually in person, so that will be fun. We get to take 3 books that Rebecca.F.Kuang will be able to sign, so I'm taking Yellowface, The Poppy War, and Babel for her to sign, which will be really cool. I'm going after work tomorrow, so it'll be a big day, but that's okay. And I'm only, like I said, I'm only 94 pages in, but I really want to finish this before tomorrow because it's a talk about Yellowface itself, so I will be hopefully finishing it before then. It is significantly later in the night, but still the same day. I've been trying to get through this as much as I can, and I've managed to, I'm on page 223 at the moment, so not far left. Yeah, about 100 pages left. The event is still tomorrow, so I'm gonna try my best to finish it tomorrow while I'm at work, on my lunch breaks, and then while I travel into the city to get to the event. Hopefully I can, but like I said, I'm a pretty slow reader, so I might not quite make it, but that's okay. It's been quite interesting. I feel like there's a lot of commentary in this book about something that's talked a lot about the publishing industry, especially the conversations I've been in, because I studied a course where most of our lecturers were in the publishing industry. So to me, it's like very obvious. I feel like there's nothing like necessarily groundbreaking that has been talked about yet in this book. I mean, even there was a part in this book where I was talking about the main character reading reviews of their book within the book, reading reviews and like talking about the comments and things that are being made about the book and how she's reading them and she wants to respond. And then I open my phone and it's like literally posts about how this one particular author overstepped the line and was harassing reviewers online. Like basically just the whole discourse about how authors shouldn't be in the reviewer space and how it's not for authors, it's for readers and reviewers only and consumers, not for people who have written the work themselves. So I was kind of even surprised, like the way the main character's written, I was surprised that she didn't even go and like comment on some of these things that were being talked about her, even making like a fake account and commenting on it. But I mean, there's still some of the book to come, so maybe she will. It's like another red mark against this character. It's like everything that white authors do, white publishers do, everything packaged into like one book in a way. It's like what a lot of the industry is talking about in these spaces, just like the statistics on how many white authors are being published and how little POC authors are being published, yet there's still this like rhetoric of people of colour are getting a much better deal right now in the publishing industry because everyone wants diverse voices and da-da-da, when it's just like simply not true. Like it's just a fact. The number of like books being published by POC authors at the moment is not really any better than it was like 5, even 10 years ago. Like there's like a very, very marginal increase, if any. So yeah, I think this book is important, like especially people who aren't aware of these things, aren't in those circles where this is being talked about. I think it is really important. I just hope that the people that this book is intended for, I hope they actually get it. And I love what this book is doing, but like it's unfortunately not going to change anything. And it's just hilarious to me that like there's a book like this that's literally hanging shit on every publisher, and like I love that. But then the fact that this book is so popular, yet there still aren't those big conversations at publishing houses. Like still nothing has changed. Like since this book was published, like nothing has changed. It's kind of like, I guess, a shit feeling, because like it felt like this book wanted to achieve something. The only thing, I guess, like just the buzz on this topic being brought up. I mean, not that one would expect a book, like one single book, to change the whole fucking publishing landscape. I guess I'm happy for r.f.kunag that she was able to publish this and it be so successful, and her literally shitting on people for being such racist pigs within the publishing industry and authors themselves. I think it's like really cool. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say. I think it will be really, really interesting. You'll maybe see bits and pieces of the event, and I'll talk to you after. I've just gotten back from the author discussion with Rebecca.F.Kunag, and I did not manage to finish the book before I got there. I've got about this much to go, so honestly about 50 to 60 pages left, but that's okay. There wasn't really a lot of discussion about like the plot line itself. It was very much a discussion about the industry and her writing process and like what she's working on next and everything like that. It was really great. I got the book signed and I also took the Poppy War, which I got signed, and I also took Babel, which I got signed as well. There are a lot of people at the event and I honestly wouldn't have been mad if she decided not to sign books, because most people had 3 books to sign, I would say. I was towards the end of the line and she did it smiling, like she was so lovely. Yeah, it was just great to hear about her perspective on certain things. It was touched upon, obviously, like the topic of the book and then her actually pitching that to the publishing industry who she's taking a stab at, and the way she viewed it was really interesting. Basically said that she didn't even really think too hard about it at the time because she had so much going on, so she kind of just submitted it and let whatever happen happen. One particular thing that really stuck in my mind that she talked about is that there's this assumption within the publishing industry that if you are writing something, the publishers are trying to basically see, is it pitchable to the stereotype of those conservative white women who get together and read their books. And she was saying that in her experience, those kinds of women are actually very curious and very much wanting to know more about the world, and don't just want to read these like basic fiction that they're given with all white characters or whatever. It almost was like the way she had been thinking about it is that like perhaps publishers are just assuming what the main audience will like and assuming that they want just like really plain like simplified themes and writing, when really in reality perhaps that's actually not the case, and people do want to be challenged and do want to read things that make them think. So I thought that was interesting, and of course the way I'm explaining it is a lot less eloquent than the way r.f.kunag explains it. She has just an amazing way with words. She's so quick to respond to the question. She always has like an answer ready, even with the audience questions that she's not expecting to get, and she always relates it to something somehow, like some kind of thought that she's like ruminated on and she's done research about or read other authors talk about and like back up with some sort of evidence in some way. Like she is really interesting to listen to. Honestly, I felt like the bit under an hour that we heard her talk was like not enough. She's also just like, she's smart obviously, but she's also just like someone my age. What she thinks about is like very much what I think our generation thinks about a lot too. So it was really interesting to hear the perspective of someone who thinks about these things. Not only that, but also goes out and tries to research it and find as much out about it as possible. She's very interested in facets of humanity, whether that be to do with race or to do with like our own internal feelings about how we view other people, especially how women view other women. She also touched upon what she's working on right now that she's just finished and is going to be released next year. It's another like fantasy, but with like a dark academia kind of twist. I guess I just love her brain. Like I love the way she views the world, and it makes me really excited to read the rest of her writing. So yeah, I'm gonna wash the day off and I'm going to finish Yellowface. and I have a lot of thoughts, but also at the same time not that many thoughts. I feel like it was very nuanced in the way that it approached the topic. How it approached the topic of racism within the publishing industry, how it approached the thought process behind people stealing other people's work. I really love how this book touched on so many topics. Authors taking on pen names that don't accurately represent themselves. It talks about the issue of copyright and the issue of publishing work that is not your own, and you're actually crediting people for the work that they've put in. And it touches upon cancel culture, the way people are spoken about on social media. I loved that it touched on like the insecurity of writing. I think these topics that this book talks about there's such big discussions that are happening in the writing and editing and publishing industry right now. There's been, you know, a lot of stuff brought up about people writing under different pen names and that don't like properly represent them, and how that kind of ambiguity or like misconception actually benefits the author. And then there's also been discussions about authors that have done wrong and their like redemption, like the whole discussion of cancel culture and everything like that. Like, can authors like that be given second chances? And I mean, a lot of them are, especially the men. But you know, it's like, if people have done this wrong and they've done these things, they've done it over and over and over again for like long periods of time, like, is that something that is forgivable? Is that something you should give someone a second chance for? These people don't want to be seen as those kinds of people. They don't want to be seen as racists or not good people like the main character in Yellowface does. She so badly does not want to be seen as that person. She so badly thinks she's not that person and she's not racist. That's her kind of mentality that she maintains throughout the book. I think like that's what makes this book so clever, is that I think a lot of people will maybe kind of excuse some of her behaviour based on how she's portrayed in this book, and I kind of think that's like very representative of real life, how people do bad things but then people always trying to excuse it away by, oh, but they're a nice person, oh, but they're this. Like, to me this book is not necessarily a new discussion. I think it's like a very important discussion, absolutely, and I think that I really hope that this book like creates more of these discussions and like can contribute to that conversation and can hopefully actually like make a difference, because like these things of we already have that author, we can't have another, and it's a lot of the time to do with race. It doesn't really make any sense because there are multiple white authors and no one ever says, oh, we have enough white authors. And another thing this book touches on is the perspective of a lot of people, mainly white people, who kind of think like, oh, well, you know, if you are an author of a minority, then of course you're going to get published, because people are like scrounging for that kind of content. Like, they want to publish that. That's all publishing houses are looking for. And it's really not true at all. It's frustrating to see this like being pushed over and over and over, that people of colour, like LGBTQ authors, like they are sought after. Like, if you have a book and you want it published, it's going to get published. And I think that's such a horrible and inaccurate thing to be pushing, because it kind of then excuses people to not be critical of what they read or purchase, and to not be critical of how the publishing industry is at the moment. I think like it's basically saying, no, the publishing industry's fine, like nothing's wrong. If anything, white authors are being the ones that are being discriminated against, which is like just so fucking wrong, honestly. Like I said, I think it is a really great book and I love the topics. Like I said, I don't think there's anything groundbreaking in it. Honestly, the thing that I took the most away from was the author talk for r.f.kunag. Like, I could listen to her for hours talking. She has like a really critical way of thinking about the world and about human behavior and why people do the things they do. If you want to hear her talk, like, I would highly recommend like maybe searching things on YouTube if you can find. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Just read Yellowface, please. If you'd like to see more from me, I have an Instagram that I've linked below. I will hopefully be reading the second book in the Emily Wilde series soon. I did the vlog for the first one and it's only right that I do a vlog for the second one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!